Welcome back, and joining us for a look at the equity scene is Viv Govender from Rand Swiss Offshore. Thank you so much for your time, Viv. Now, we saw global markets starting off the second quarter on a sour note, but we have seen those markets trying to rebound, particularly looking at the US and some of the European markets. I'm just wondering how far that rebound can go, looking at the fact that good news is always seen as bad news, and we did see the ADP private payrolls for March actually growing more than expected.
Yes, I mean, for those that don't know, the main driver in the market at the moment is what's going to happen to interest rates. And the hope is the more interest rates we have, the stronger the market's going to be. I mean, look at what the economy of the world did after 2008. There were plenty of places in the world that didn't grow very fast, but low interest rates don't push things to grow very well for the market. And I think that's something the market's hoping for right now. Unfortunately for them, the economy is too strong. And that's the kind of the issue at the moment here. Unemployment is too low, the economy is too strong, especially in the US. And I think that's one of the things that is kind of like making the market nervous. Longer term, obviously, you want a strong economy, but in the short to medium term, the lower interest rate will be better for the market.
All right. Well, an economy that isn't strong is in South Africa. So let's come back home and look at the JSE. Some of the company news that actually came out. So we did have Transaction Capital updating the market yet again, saying that the conditions have been met to actually go ahead with the unbundling and separate listing of We Buy Cars, so that can start being traded on the 11th of April. Of course, we have seen the share price continuing to tick up. Investors, looking at this as a very good opportunity in terms of value unlock. What have you made of the process to this point, where now there is certainty that We Buy Cars is going to be listed?
Yeah, I think the market is pretty certain that's going to happen. It's about to occur next week or so. I do think that it's a good idea. Generally you do find that when you have more clarity into the underlying investment, it's taxis or it's cars, the used car market, they're kind of related to both vehicles, but they're not exactly the same thing. You have a better chance of actually getting true valuations for things. And I think, shareholders will probably be positive about it. That being said, I mean, you just look 1 year back, this share price is still down about 30% from, the highs of a year ago. So that's a pretty, I think, weak, overall performance of that year. And hopefully this kind of change, major change as it is going to change the, the overall trajectory of the company.
Yeah, I mean, just, looking at Transaction Capital and how investors have kind of been propping up this stock. Of course, you do mention it is still 30% down from the highs that we saw, but much higher, a little bit higher than the bottom that we saw. Do you think maybe this could provide an opportunity for investors to start going into Transaction Capital, or would that be way too early before we know what exactly is happening with SA Taxi?
I don't know, we're still 30% down from the last year. I mean, from all-time highs, this thing is down 80%. It's a disaster. Look, I think there's opportunity here. There is some hope that the We Buy Cars does have some of the problems that Transaction Capital as a whole does have as a business. And I think that, the used car market in South Africa is particularly well developed. Our, weekly currency, our weak economy, our, high taxation for imported cars, etc. Means that, we keep cars here longer than most places in the world. Because clunkers, it's like the US or the UK or something. In South Africa are still viable, cars in South Africa. So this is a market that may be uniquely suited to South Africa that might perform better than we see, for instance, Carvana, for instance, do in the US. So I do think it's an opportunity for, for retail investors. But, like I said, I always wonder about these companies that do have some of these issues with risk management, etc. And, how much basically you can isolate that from different parts of the company.
All right. Well, talking about the weak South African economy, it seems that things aren't so bad in the Western Cape. Spear REIT, of course, which is focused in the Western Cape, did come out with a trading update today, basically saying that their financial metrics are doing well. Of course, even though they are in the Western Cape, quite a good environment there, they still can't really mitigate some of these headwinds all the way. Of course, still dealing with high interest rates. They talk about the cost creep from inflation. But of course, even yesterday, we did get Spear acquiring 13 properties from Emira Properties. What do you make of that company? Would you say that even with all the headwinds, that it is still maybe a defensive company at this point?
Yeah, look, I mean, it is basically a bet on the Western Cape, and so thus far it's been the better performing of the provinces. Obviously we're going through the election, we might have a change in leadership, but unlikely, but it might just have, you never know. The overall economy as well is, not doing great at the moment. In a rebounding environment, I do think, however, let's say you're betting on South Africa rebounding, the economy rebounding, you'd probably find bigger, returns coming in places like Durban or Gauteng than you would in the Western Cape, just because it has not fallen quite as much. So there's a downside to this kind of, the betting on South Africa, but you're not betting on like the full recovery, you're just betting on one part of the country.
Yeah, I hear you on that. Well, Viv, let's get to your stock pick for today. What are you choosing?
I'm choosing Tesla. I'm being a bit brave after the disastrous results that came out yesterday. Big drop, big miss by, in terms of sales, big rise in inventories, which is not usually a problem for Tesla. They can usually sell whatever they make. A couple of things that I think would be, would be the reasons to buy. Number one, some of the stuff that caused the drop in sales is temporary. The big thing I think, however, is that full self-driving. Elon Musk comes out and says that every single new Tesla must be given a demonstration, a new Tesla buyer must give a demonstration of the full self-driving facilities, making me think that now we are closer than ever. Despite promises over many, many years, this might just be the year this year or next year, where we do have full self-driving. And that, I think, will change the total valuation of that company.
Quite a polarizing stock there, but thank you for that interesting stock pick, Viv. That was Viv Govender from Rand Swiss Offshore.